Australia's eastern states have been hammered by major flooding events over the past year. Some communities have been hit with multiple floods over the past 12 months. While much of the focus has been on homes and businesses destroyed, attention has waned on farmers. Agriculture is an important industry in Australia, and farmers along the Murray River in New South Wales have been devastated. Some properties have been underwater for weeks. Georgia Simpson has this special report.
Water is life. Humans, plants and animals, our very existence relies on it. But too much of a good thing can have dire consequences.
The paddocks are they're just worse than a drought. There's nothing there, just rotten vegetation, no feed, nothing.
Deniliquin farmers Andrew and Louise Burge are no stranger to floods. It's part of living on the land.
We had a first flood in mid-October, and that was a manageable flood. It was within the levee systems, and you just have to put up with that. No one's complaining about that.
The second flood was also manageable, but the third flood was catastrophic.
This one, I've never seen anything like it.
It's just sheer and utter devastation.
The Burges have lost count of the hours they've spent preparing for the floods, then watching as water swallowed their property, almost seeping into their home.
It came within, 50 mil of going over our levee around our house, and I'd never thought that would ever be a problem.
Crops have drowned, while livestock have been saved. Wildlife hasn't been so lucky. Usually unflappable, the uncertainty at what lies ahead has Andrew undone.
You try and deal with it, it sort of gets you down a bit. Bloody well goes get me now. Work your guts out for all your life.
Cut off from the world for close to a month, until recently these have been their mode of transport.
It's hard to picture it now, but only a month ago this was a sea of green. Green grass as high as my knee, feed for 7,000 sheep. Once the floodwaters have receded, this is what's left, dead and rotting grass that's no good for anything.
Ripped up and washed away from the floods, this road is still closed. It means crops that aren't already destroyed by floods can't be harvested or planted, and pastures primed for livestock are still underwater. Fences need to be repaired, and at $7,000 per kilometre, it's not cheap.
We lost all our crossings in August. Couldn't imagine that would still be in December and can't get there.
Cameron Tweed's property is down the road from the Burges, and this year was going to cancel out the bad ones.
Best year ever. Yeah, it would have wiped a bit of debt and given us a go for next year as well. So, but yeah, now we'll just be getting by.
Like the Burges, he's had to move hundreds of sheep to dry land and fly in feed so they don't starve to death.
Oh, this has cost us hundreds and hundreds of thousands.
It's unclear exactly how much this will cost farmers along the Murray River. Thousands of hectares of prime farmland are still underwater. When it eventually dries up, it's not as simple as bringing back livestock and planting crops.
It does something to the soil, I don't know what, and it just, takes years for it to recover.
People just need to wake up to what is happening, what the true cost of this, not just to the farmers, the towns, the shires, the road repairs. It's just mega millions of dollars.
While the flooding this year has been inevitable because of La Nina conditions, Cameron and the Burges believe the scale of the third flood could have been avoided.
I believe that the water in the Hume has got a lot to do with what's happened here. Levels are far too high going into spring, especially, you don't have to be Einstein to work out you're in this pattern.
The management of these dams has to change. They just don't seem to care. They won't listen to us.
All the signs were that we were in La Nina wet conditions, and blind Freddie could see that it was going to be a flood year. And the real question is, why couldn't the MDBA see that?
Georgia Simpson, Sky News.